last night, the group of you finally managed to defeat your first witch together. Together being a little subjective. But one way or another, you guys have finally managed to get a grief seed for yourselves. So, as the night ticks by and your entropy points all increase by 1, are any of you planning on using your grief seeds?
Yes, Anthony will be using his grief seed.
Okay. Sounds good. Go ahead and deduct that from your inventory, and I'll edit the sheet. Anybody else? And then you can totally PM me if you want to use yours or whatever. Okay. Sounds good. So as that morning sun rises up from the depths of that night sky, and the darkness and your small little gems just grows in size, just a tiny bit. The day's beginning, and in the city of Salazar, many different lives are being led. Now, there's one in particular life, a life being led that isn't exactly having the brightest time. Kind of reflected in their soul gem. Well, today's the day that you plan to see your mother.
Fabulous. The night before, there wasn't probably no change in Nana, right? Because the witch that we found, the tattoos that she gave out were all heart tattoos. And I think Nana has a question mark, right?
That's right.
Is she still acting okay? I know she's not okay, but does she look drained? Like she's gonna pass out soon?
So as far as healthiness goes, she seems to still be quite spunky. You've noticed, however, that there is a bit of apathy at some times, but the most prominent thing is this new temper or attitude that she's developed. She's been unnecessarily fighting against helpful grasps or guidance, things like that.
Being a brat. Okay. Am I gonna go see Mom this morning, or did I plan to do it later in the evening?
You plan to do it later in the evening.
Okay. So I do know that I believe there was a ping for a monster somewhere near Stormcourt. Is there any chance that I can go around there during the day, trying to find any information on witches or any clues maybe leading to something?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so I pack up the carriage and I bring Nana with me because actually, I don't want to bring her with me. I'll take her to Roman's library, see if he can take care of her while I go do this.
Okay. So it is a pretty far journey. If you want to make that journey, I'll say it'd probably take you somewhere between 2 and 3 hours to get there, if that's something that you want to do.
Sure. I guess we're leaving early then.
Okay, sounds good. So with the sun bright and early, you take Nana with you, and the carriage lifts up with horses at the reins and trots off the cobblestone roads. So, as you're journeying to go drop off Nana to a friend's house, Anthony. What's going on, Anthony? It's a new morning, and as a quote-unquote mailman, like every day, you've got deliveries to fulfill.
Anthony's been up since at least 3 a.m. running deliveries. He got right home, set down his stuff, and he's just been running around.
Okay. Well, now that you've done all that running around, it's time to give all that money back. So, is there anything that you'd like to do before you go ahead and make this transaction?
No, not really.
Okay.
Anthony's just going to do what he did.
All right. There's a very clever spot tucked away between two large taverns near the docks district. And in that small little alleyway, a lot of different transactions are made on the daily. Most of them have to do with the unsavory pleasures that riddle the city. If you know anything about Salazar, it's that the drug problem in it has definitely exponentially increased in the last 10 years. And in fact, there have been so many problems with this that many substances that were once legal have now been banned. And one such substance is currently and also formerly in Anthony's possession. Anthony, it's a pretty familiar sight. This dank little street with puddles in it despite rain being quite far off. And between these two taverns, there's a familiar man, and he's got one foot on the wall, and the rest of his body is leaning against it with that other leg just holding him up, balancing him. And around his mouth, he's got a small little piece of straw, and he's using his teeth and his tongue to kind of move it around from left to right anxiously. It's the sign of an addict.
Hey, how are you doing, sir?
He doesn't say anything. Instead, he looks at you with piercing brown eyes. And they've got pretty defined black kind of pupils inside of them. And he moves his eyes over to your messenger bag. Do you have anything left in there?
There's only like one bag of it left.
Alright. When he sees the bag, his nose kind of expands, and those nostrils flare up, and you can see that the black in the pupils of his eyes kind of brightens a little bit. And he lifts his chin just to gesture over to you, and he says, "Leftovers?"
You're still gonna have to pay, sir. I'm sorry, but this stuff isn't cheap.
You misunderstand.
I don't.
If you're not going to sell them, you might as well give them to me.
Dude, you know this stuff can be sold the next night. I'm not just gonna give it to you.
I know you're turning it in right now. I know she's going to get mad at you if you've got anything left on you.
You're still gonna have to pay for it. She'd be more mad at me if I was just giving away.
Then cut me a deal, man.
75%. That's how much you'll have to pay for it. Lowest I can go.
70.
75. No, let's make it 80.
You hear as a small, little, shiny, sharp object flicks into life. And it's kind of peeking out of his pocket.
You're seriously gonna try and rob me in front of the boss's house? Like, seriously? Are you stupid?
I don't think it's going to be a full-on robbery if you just hand it over.
No, that's still threatening someone. That's still a robbery. Now, either hand over the green or I'm not giving you the polywall.
Hey, don't get cocky just because you're a messenger boy, alright?
Not a messenger boy. I'm a delivery man.
Give me a give me a persuasion roll.
Alright. 22?
Just fucking fork it over. And he lifts this large wallet outside of his back pocket, and he thumbs through it for a moment, pulling out 1, 2, 3, until he's got about 7 platinum coins in his hand. And he clenches them in his fist and extends his fist out to you.
I reach into the bag, pull out the bag of stuff, and hand it over while I grab the money from his other hand.
Yeah. He'll kind of reluctantly feel your palm as you slap the product into his hand. He kind of tenses as he feels the product enter your hand. Oh, goodness. One more second. Oh, my God. He kind of clenches his fist as he holds the product that you've slapped into his hand. And he kind of stares at you in the eyes for a second before he opens his fingers and lets the coins fall in your hand.
That's more like it. Alright. If you want to do another deal like this again, you're gonna have to pay full price, maybe extra. Good luck on you.
The fuck do you mean extra?
What? Do you think I'm just gonna cut you a little lower price without asking for some back?
Yeah, I think you're gonna do that.
No, I'm not, dude. You know me. Anthony's just gonna dash away right into the lady's house.
Alright. On the upper floor of one of these taverns, it's called the Dragon's Tooth. It's a pretty small staircase that leads just right upwards to a back door. There's a familiar knock. It's kind of a message or a sort of passcode, but it's really just reminiscent of some sort of Christmas theme. You raise your knuckle to the door, and you give that special reminiscent knock. And exactly. And this small little slot in the door just opens. And behind this door are green eyes.
Yo, I have the pizza.
And it just slams shut. You hear some unlocking, and then it opens. And instead of a person, just a hand outstretching behind the door welcomes you inside.
Alright. What's up, lady?
There's a woman sitting on a chair that's not exactly ornate or royal or fancy. It's this tattered chair. It's made of what looks like bear's fur, and it's tattered with a bunch of different little markings and scratches on it, like it's been a cat scratching post or something like that. But it still looks pretty comfortable. There's a woman, and she's got long red hair. And she's got one leg crossed over the other. She's got fair skin, and she's got these fingerless gloves that have a small little metallic cylinder, and it's dancing between her knuckles. She's using her fingers to kind of fiddle with this object. And she looks at you. Her eyes sickly white like they usually are. And she opens her mouth to speak. And she coughs. Takes a second. Swallows. I assume you've sold everything.
Yeah, as much as the addicts will buy. So all of it.
Well, hand it over.
Alright, here's your green.
And the coins kind of dance down into this small little bag, never to find a bottom. Or at least, you don't hear a bottom. Anyways, the bag never seems to be getting bigger. It's definitely a bag of holding. And with the last coin fallen, she zips it. And then she turns to you and she says, "You know, you've always made a good messenger boy."
Delivery man?
And you're pretty good at making sure things are safe.
I don't like to take unnecessary risks. I've got a lot of people depending on me. So.
And what is an unnecessary risk, Anthony?
Well, I don't like threatening people for payment. That's a big risk there. Though they always do end up paying.
That's it? Just threats?
Yeah, I know.
Anthony, tell me, what's the difference between a threat and a promise?
A promise is something you deliver. A threat is just empty.
Empty. Let me tell you something, Anthony. Here, why don't you come with me? And she lifts off of this chair, and she stretches arms that look sickly thin. And with this small little cylinder that she's still fiddling with in her hand, she uses her other hand to kind of wave you over as she walks with a sort of limp down the stairs on the inside of this building.
Anthony will follow.
Anthony, you've dealt with all kinds of strands. You know what's more dangerous, what's hard to sneak past cops. You know what kind of protection you need when carrying certain things. A friend of mine, well, let's just say that she's planning on revolutionizing the business for the better.
Are you going to be having me sell something new?
No, new is not revolutionary. New is just the seasons changing. New is whatever's on the shelf. I'm talking about a new way of dealing. And at the bottom of this stairwell, with steps creaking at every step, there is one light, and it's coming from a brazier at the other end of the room. And you can actually see that the sunlight from the floor above, the windows kind of letting that sunlight into the room above, is allowing for small little lines of light through the creaks of the floorboards above. And there are 2 crates before you. And this woman, moves forward, crawls her hand over one of the crates, and makes a little circle over it with her finger, tracing it lovingly. And then she moves to the other end of the crate, trailing her finger along it the whole time. And she pushes her hand between that small space between the top and the side, where it's kind of nailed down on each side, but she's scratching up her hand with little splinters and things to get to. And she grabs something, and you can hear a small little chink. Kind of like a plate of armor, maybe, moving along other little metal pieces. And she rears this thing back and yanks it out of the crate between that small wedge. And there's this kind of brown looking little housing, and it's got a lot of thick metal looking compartments surrounding it. It's some sort of device. It's odd. It kind of looks like the accessories to a crossbow or something, but it's completely making up whatever little thing she's got in her hand. And it looks small and kind of unseemly. It's very straightforward, and it's got a hole at the end of it. And she's holding it limp-wristed for a moment. And she says, "Do you know what this is, Anthony?"
I have no idea, I'll be honest.
And she moves forward and she raises one of these thin hands. Even her fingers are thin. And she starts combing through your hair. Kind of uncomfortably. She might notice you flinch, but maybe she pretends to ignore it. And she holds you kind of to her shoulder while showing off this little contraption in her hand, still limp-wristed. And she says, "This is gonna change Salazar. It's gonna change the whole fucking world." And she raises the nozzle and she presses it to your face. And the butt of it goes down until that entry point or exit point, you're not sure, presses against your lips. Do you want one of these, Anthony?
I don't know what it does, so I don't know if I'd want to have it on me.
I can show you. And
I have a feeling it's not something good.
She reluctantly, kind of staring at you with a tiger's eyes, hesitates before she pulls the gun off your face. And she reaches with her fingers on this metal cylinder that she's had in her hand the whole time. And she clicks a button, and a small little contraption kind of opens up. It's only got room for one of these little shapes. And she shoves the little shape inside of it, closes it, and you can hear a little click. And then she pulls it back with a click. And then she moves it back. And this time she points to your chest, to your shoulder, to your leg, to your toe. And she's kind of holding you against her shoulder, and she's pointing this contraption over your shoulder so that you can see it, like you're the one holding it. And she uses her other arm over your other shoulder to grab your hand and put it over this contraption. And she's pointing it at your left foot. And then she's pointing it at your right foot, and she says, "Which foot do you like better?"
I guess my left foot?
And she turns the muzzle, pointing it to the right. And then she kind of forcefully grabs one of your fingers, your pointer finger, and she rings it over and folds it over this small little trigger. And she says, "Pull."
What is this going to do? What is?
You'll see.
I don't like this. Anthony pulls the trigger.
And it just fires this loud, sort of small projectile. It's so small, it's infinitely fast, and you can't follow it with your eyes, but it immediately buries right into the floorboard, just inches away from your big toe. And she says, "Don't worry, your aim will get better with practice."
What the hell, lady? What is this?
They call it a pistol. And I have just ordered myself so many of these little babies. They're like my children.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, sure, I'll take one.
Mm-hmm. Although, in the business we say, you never give out anything for free. So what are you willing to do for me, Anthony? And she's still kind of combing your hair while she's asking you this question.
I'll keep working for you.
Oh, no, that's not good enough. You work for me, you get your rent, you feed your little brat. That's boring. I want to know something else you can offer me, Anthony.
I don't know what else I can offer you.
I remember what you said about risks. And how you were saying that threats were just empty promises and that promises were loaded. Well, now you've got something that's not empty. I'll make sure this little gun of yours never runs out of bullets if you can promise me to deliver some promises and maybe sometimes fulfill them.
Are you asking me to kill someone?
Well, not necessarily. Did you have someone in mind?
No, I don't really hold ill will towards that many people. You know that. I'm asking if you hold that sort of will towards someone and want me to use this on them.
I think that people make great canvases. And I think that me and you can offer lots of different paints. It just so happens that I know of some people who would look incredible with a coating of crimson.
Who?
There's a young boy. A young boy whose father is out of the picture. He's quite like you. So, if I give you more details, I do hope that you won't empathize with him too much. And I'm sure you like to have fun yourself.
Oh, I just remembered something else I can offer you for this, but I'll save it for later. I'll do this.
Wonderful. There's a boy who owns quite a bit in the storm court. You know, this is actually going to take quite a while. I think that perhaps you should stay over for lunch.
I'm quite busy, so...
I insist. And she raises that little contraption. After all, you want your gun.
Alright, I'll take it.
Alright. So, while Anthony is a little preoccupied in the docks district, Lucas, it's time to go to school.
Oh no, I'm gonna be late.
Alright. So, you're running late, but you're pretty fast, aren't you?
The fastest.
Okay. If you're so fast, give me an acrobatics roll. And let's see how fast you get there. Maybe you won't be late. Not fast enough, apparently. Oh my god. Yeah, so Lucas, unfortunately, it was one of those situations where you thought you had time to eat breakfast. You did not have time to eat breakfast. But, you know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You had to scarf it up before you left. And when you left, of course, that familiar bell rang right in front of your face, right when you got to the entrance of the school. It's a quite gated community. It's pretty high-end. There are a lot of rich kids at this school, but there are also a lot of kids from the Chalk End and from Southtown, so it's a pretty mixed population. Of course, that ringing means that you have to go to the principal's office.
Oh no. I'm gonna get in trouble with the disciplinary committee again.
And trudging along the steps to the principal's office, there are 3 chairs, all empty, which means that either the office is empty or there's one person speaking in there. And there definitely isn't anyone speaking in there. There's this large door that says principal's office, plaqued in some sort of silver, maybe steel, and it's wide open. And there's a beady-eyed man with fine brown hair and pretty flamboyant-looking glasses. And he's sitting behind a desk, staring at some sort of paper. A stack of them.
What's his name?
I'm sorry?
What's the principal's name?
Castian.
I knock on the door. Mr. Castian? It's me.
Come in.
I walk in. Yeah, sorry, I was late. I swear I'm not usually late. I'm sorry.
I have been looking at your records, and I have found that that is not exactly the case.
Yeah, maybe.
I do wonder why this is the first time that you showed up here.
Well, things happen. I didn't think I really needed to.
Honestly, I'm gone for 1 week and kids start skipping school and they don't even get in trouble for it.
It's not skipping. I do always show back up. I do my best to show up.
So you are telling me that you don't care about your morning classes, but the afternoon ones are alright? Or the reverse, is that what you're getting at?
I try my hardest for my morning and afternoon classes. Just sometimes things pop up.
And sometimes is at least once a week. Your father should be here any minute now.
Oh no, please don't get my dad here.
It's too late. It's out of my hands.
I just got here. How is he so fast?
Like father, like son. Or maybe not.
I mean, I could just go to class now. He doesn't really need to be... I'll take detention. You could slap on extra work. Please don't bring my dad here. He doesn't need to know.
You misunderstand, Mr. Lucas. He is on his way.
You can just send him back. Two weeks of detention. I swear, I'm fine with it. Just please don't bring my dad here.
Mr. Lucas.
3 weeks. And extra homework. And I'll wash the floors.
Is there something about your dad that you need to talk to me about?
No. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's just, why? There's no need to, and I can work even harder, right?
Well, I was hoping to contact your mother, but unfortunately I could not find her on the sending list. Apparently she's never been in office before.
Lucas just sighs in relief at the fact that they don't know his mother yet. Well, that's too bad. That's just too bad. Maybe we should keep it that way. But yes, I will do 2 extra weeks of detention. I will do extra.
Mr. Free, it's wonderful of you to show up. when you turn your head, there's a man standing in the doorway. And unlike his son, he has rather brown hair. And his eyes are not the same gold color at all. They're more of a sort of hazel. The texture of the hair is different too. His is more so a little curled, whereas Lucas's is quite straight and flat. And this man sort of raises his right hand, more so of a dismissal than a hello. And the principal kind of nervously gestures him to the seat, and without speaking, he just sits right next to Lucas. And behind the desk, the principal begins to relay a little more information about Lucas's recent absence from school. And the whole time, this man is listening calmly. He's nodding his head. And he turned to the principal and he says, "When I was a boy, absences were not taken so harshly. I would think that this should not be a problem on his permanent record." And the principal's eyes kind of flare up and he says, No, sir. It's completely fine. This is more of a meeting to solve a problem. Not that there is a problem, but rather that there might be one manifesting. And of course, we don't want bad habits to develop in the children. And this man just kind of calmly raises his hand. And he says, "I'll deal with this one. I'm just making sure that my parenting is not being done for me, rather than with me." And the principal nervously shakes his head and gives the thumbs up. And it's only a few minutes more so adult chatter before the principal lifts off the chair, shakes hands with Lucas's dad, and escorts both of you outside of the door without a word. It's rather cordial. And the whole time, Lucas's dad hasn't really said anything directly to Lucas. It's been like, Lucas, that you were sitting there and there were people talking to you like you weren't there at all. And once you make it about 15 steps out of the office and the principal closes his door, hastily putting on a small little "Do Not Disturb" sign. It's only after those few moments he kind of looks at you, almost expecting something.
Just hangs his head down and doesn't say a word.
Not an explanation, huh?
I was doing extra training outside the dojo.
Training.
Yes, sir.
Roll me a deception.
That's a 10.
Lucas.
Yes, sir.
I fucked off when I was a kid, too. I thought you would at least have the respect to tell me the truth.
I respect you very much.
Listen, I'm not a heartless bastard, alright? I get it. Shit's hard, and I'm doing this for you because listen, okay. There's a particular standard at this school in life. Salazar, any city you go to, urban towns even. There's a standard, and then there are people that go above and beyond that standard. And you don't want to be one of these little people that get stuck fulfilling things to their requirements, or living life without being too off the fence or too... what I'm getting at is that maybe you feel like you don't get the freedom that other kids have, but those kids are not going anywhere that you want to go, Lucas. I mean, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Look at me. All right. I don't even own the dojo. And that was my dream. My dream was to be the owner of my own dojo. So I want you to live in a way that's going to allow you to fulfill your own dreams, your own wishes, without anybody else's influence. There's no easy way out of this. Dreams just don't come true like that. You get it?
Yes, sir.
If you're involved with illegal substances,
No,
I need
no,
you
no,
to
no, no,
stop.
no, 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 none of that, none of that. No, I'm sorry to make you think that.
He kind of pierces his eyes at you and he says, well, that's good. Better than what I was initially thinking. I guess maybe you're a better kid than I was. But
It's just Ivera and I have been becoming closer lately and doing things after school. And
like
spending more time.
adult things, or
Well, I guess you can say that. I don't really know how to explain it.
we can have that talk when you get home. But
Oh, okay. Can I go to class now?
you can, but I know how hard that you've been training. And I wanted to let you know that I've already talked to the coach at the school about signing you up for the school's kendo team.
The kendo team. Yay! I'm very grateful for it.
Well, you were talking about that extra training. I don't know what you were going to use it for.
Oh, yes, I
Listen, you're going to be representing our dojo on this team. Your brother didn't make it to varsity. I expect you to. The tryouts are tonight. Well, afternoon. You understand. I expect you to be ready and in your home kimono, and we will get you those patches on my next paycheck.
Yes, sir. I'll make sure to represent our family. Just to make you proud.
Alright. And he kind of just lifts his chin up at you to say goodbye, and he turns, walking towards the exit. But he stops for a moment, and he said, and Lucas?
Yes, sir.
Don't be late to class again. It's not that hard. You're faster than these kids. There's no reason why you should be late.
Yes, sir.
And he turns around and he starts grumbling to himself. The school's fucking downhill from our house. Kind of just like a few things to himself as he's leaving.
He just sighs relief and he's like, oh, God, he's gone. What class do I have today?
English.
Alright, he just walks to English class.
Alright. And when you get into English class, there's a teacher there. Her name is Mrs. Halberd. and she is pretty chill. When you enter late, she just kind of cocks her neck, ushering you to your seat quietly so that you don't disrupt her lesson, and she continues on with a book that you're reading. And when you get to your seat, there isn't a blue-haired girl sitting next to you, comforting you. You're alone.
I just shrink in on myself, noticing my best friend is gone, and focus on the book and try not to attract any.
Alright. And when you reach your hands into that desk for your book, you feel something else. It's this small discarded piece of paper.
Oh, I take it out and I open it to try and look.
It's a note, and it reads in very familiar handwriting. Lucas, tell everyone, I'm sorry for the short notice, but I can't help with the magical stuff today. My grandmother is going to have a stroke and she will die without my help. You're all capable people. There's a small little very that's scribbled out. I'm sure you'll be just fine without me. Smiley face. All the best, Ivera. P.S. Lucas, you're not allowed to die while I'm not there to stop you. Angry face with exaggerated eyebrows.
Just a very small smile creeps up on Lucas's face, and he holds it close to his chest, and then goes back to his book.
Alright. So, Ace, by this time your carriage ride would have taken you all the way to Roman's abode, which is a library. And the front door is just as, well, lackluster as you remember it.
I pull Nana by the book because I know she's probably not going to come in on her own. So just kind of tag her book and make her follow me. I know you love reading. We're here to get you more books, dear. People are staring. Come on inside already.
And she kind of struggles.
I just kind of just scoot in, and I see, is Roman there?
Roman would probably be behind the counter right now.
Oi, chicken legs. Look after her today.
Hey, well, sure. Yeah, I can do that.
I'm gonna go see if I can find any more individuals with this tattoo, as it's becoming more prominent, and I don't want a dead child on my hands.
Right. No, I got you. You sure you don't want any help with that?
Don't you have to run this store? Isn't that your job?
I mean, I do.
Right. So, why would you bring that up?
I don't know. I'm just a little worried. I mean, I
don't plan to fight a witch. I'm just looking
Roman!
What the hell is that?
That's Mr. Dalton.
Roman!
That's that old
Mr.
man
Dalton?
from the other day?
Are your friends back?
Yeah, they're here. Do you want to meet them?
No! They took you from me!
The guy sounds like Stropsky Cola. Sorry. That man sounds like he's dying.
I am dying!
Yeah.
Oh. Do you have to do it in such a public place?
It's
and so loudly?
my home!
It is his home.
It's also a library, so shut up.
Shh! No talking in the library!
Will just quietly closes the door. Whatever door that sound is coming out of. He just... Is there anywhere...
You can't get out of there, so I have to remember, to open that door eventually.
His voice whispers into the back of your mind. If you close the door on me, I'll die!
Well, good news. I'm pretty sure you're not going to forget he's in there.
Yeah, I generally
It
don't.
wouldn't be the first time!
Why do you live
It
here?
would.
This is awful. This is honestly the worst place I've ever been. Anyway, I'm gonna go look for more of the tattoos. And I'll come pick her up at 6.
Cool.
He leans over at Nana and he's like, "Alright, Nana, enjoy the day with your stepfather. I get you back at 6 o'clock. Don't make a mess. Goodbye."
Bye-bye.
Starts walking outside, I guess.
Nana, I bring Nana over to a table where I'd actually, in my free time, been picking out a beginner curriculum or sort of schooling. Things like basic shapes and numbers.
Okay, so she actually looks very interested in what you brought her. But she doesn't seem very interested in you. So,
That's okay.
when you place these books down on the table, she devours them. Not literally, but she's got her hands flicking through the pages. Her eyes are scouring each one, looking for every single minute detail there is. And if she manages to finish all of them, each time she finishes a book, she rereads that book multiple times over before she moves to the next one. And all this time, she's kind of holding her breath, almost dangerously. It's like she'll hold her breath until she finishes a page, allow herself to breathe again, and then go on to the next page. It's a little disconcerting, but other than that, she just seems obsessively interested in what you brought her.
Well, that's a start, at least. This is gonna be a big, big task. Hope Will knows what he's doing. And I just gently poke and prod at the tattoo every now and then when Nana is engrossed in a book.
Okay. After kind of watching over her tattoo for a few moments, those moments turn to minutes, and then there's about a half hour until suddenly you can see this orange, maybe an aura would be the right word. It's an outline that appears around this tattoo. It's certainly maybe arcane in nature or something supernatural. She kind of yawns loudly for a moment.
Okay. Are you okay?
No response. After that yawn, she delves back into the books.
Come on, Will. Gotta figure something out.
Why are you talking to yourself?
I am really wishing I'd do something. I'll be over there in a second, Mr. Dalton. And then I get back to... I let him out of whatever door he was closed behind. Wheel his wheelchair over to a window. And set about dusting once more.
Alright. Ace, you're looking for...
So I'm going around to most of the libraries or bookstores in the area, maybe the school, and seeing if I notice anybody that's acting similarly to the way that Nana is, someone that's obsessed over knowledge, over wanting to learn things, and not really taking care of themselves. Maybe they look like they've been in the like maybe they look like they've been going through finals week, but like 10 times over, where they're just in the library and gross and just reading something.
And she's on? I mean... Oh my god.
I look for giant elephants, slutty elephants.
Oh my god. But anyways.
Oh my god, inside jokes. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Give me an investigation roll.
Oh, that was GM only. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So with a 20 on that investigation roll, nice.
I definitely said slutty, you dumb.
Oh, never mind. It's okay. With that 20 on the investigation roll, you can give me a 1d100.
Sorry. Okay, D100.
Nice. Okay. So, you are walking along the streets, and it occurs to you that this library isn't going to be the only place where you can find books or other sources of info.
Obviously, very tentatively make sure that I don't actually bump into anyone. I'm not touching anything. He's not a germaphobe. He just thinks people are gross, and he doesn't want to deal with their nastiness.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. And unfortunately, you are in the grossest part of the city, which would be the Chalk End. It's a place borderlining the ghettos that the very, very...
Oh, sorry, I wasn't specific. I want to go back to where I was before.
You want to go back to where you were before. Got it.
Yeah, I just brought her here so that someone can look after her.
Yeah, makes sense.
And Roman has no life, so of course.
Yeah, sounds good. Roman has no life, confirmed. Going back to the Storm Court then, which is considerably less dirty. It's going to be another around 2 to 3 hour carriage ride until you're back. But it's definitely going to be a much easier trip without a kid that's constantly whining.
By the way, I check the letters every morning. Besides the usual business stuff, did I get anything personal?
Nothing personal.
Okay.
But you would have yesterday definitely received a letter just reminding you about the visitation notice, which you're...
and if it's from who I think it's from, I'll send them back a letter and I'll be like, I know. How is it going over there? You know, the basic, like, how's business? Do we need to worry about anything? Do we need to transfer funds? Blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Just, like, it's mostly business, but also, like, tongue-in-cheek on the personal side.
Yeah. You've noticed that many members of the board have been quite lenient about any activities or responsibilities that you have around times when you get visits with your mom.
Right. No, I'm talking about if I got a letter from Cassandra, I was just going to send it back and make sure that she got it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Anyways, so with that 82 on the 1d100 roll, while looking in the Storm Court, there is actually a very, very renowned place for learning about books, stories, things like that. And those are play adaptations. There's a very famous theater called the Moulin Rouge. And, oh my god. And it's
sorry.
And it is a place where many renowned actors go and amazing dancers, you know, just incredible worldwide classical dancers, of course. And in this theater, you've probably been there before, seen an opera or two, famous stories about this deeply primitive world, the origin stories of many different cultures, things like that, all adapted into plays that can last up to 6 hours. Maybe you find it boring, maybe you find it interesting, but there's definitely a large base of people who visit those places frequently. And in front of this large building where there are shining lights done by magic and by very shriggily lit braziers that all have different colors, this symposium of wonder has a few bystanders that are looking towards it, eyeing the spectacle and leaving. But there's one man whose eyes don't avert from this building at all. They just stare aimlessly. It's this larger man. He's slightly overweight, but he's got ginger hair, and he has these little what do you call it? Like Wolverine, you know what I'm talking about?
Mutton chops?
Mutton chops. There you go. He's got these mutton chops. And instead of having like a smile on his face or something that supposes interest, it's dull. Dull like when Nana's everything was erased.
Alright, I'll go up to him real quick. Sir, sorry, I seem to be a bit lost. Is this the theater? Does he interact with me at all?
No. You can hear his heavy breathing, but not much interaction.
I just kind of wave my hand in front of his face from a good distance, but enough to break his line of sight.
So when you wave your hand forward, he violently just swipes forward for that hand. But since it's far away enough, it won't touch you.
I look to the building, and you said it's like a theater, right? Like a, like a smaller one, or does it just look like more of like a library for theater?
No,
thing?
It is a one-stage theater.
Okay. Is there a ticket booth?
There is a ticket booth right in the front, and there's actually a woman there right now. You can't really see her because the glass is kind of darkened somehow.
I knock. Hello?
Yes?
Hi, sorry. I was asking that man about the theater. Has he been standing there like that forever?
Oh, that one. This is actually my first shift this week, but there's this other girl that works here. She said that man with the mutton chops, he's been to almost every show in the past week.
And what kind of shows do you do here? Sorry, like I said, I was trying to ask him, but doesn't seem too responsive.
Well, there are many different mythologies that we, as playwrights, have collected or written ourselves. We find the various cultural interpretations of our world enriching, and exploring the themes of humanity, mortality, and asking ourselves important questions through storytelling is one of our goals here.
You have a lot of cats, I see.
Shut up.
I'll kill you.
I'll kill you, cat. No talking during podcast.
Alright. Good to know. When's your next show?
Well, in a few minutes.
What's the crowd look like usually for these shows?
These days, the theater isn't the most popular. When we first opened, we were full house.
You cut out a lot, Hungry.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. There we go. These days, the theater is no longer the full house that it was when we first entered the city. We get maybe 75 people a night.
I see. And since, with all the traveling, maybe 5 hours has passed since we, got up, it's, noon. So this is a matinee that's gonna happen?
Yes.
Okay. I will watch a matinee, but I'll mostly be watching that guy and see if he goes anywhere afterwards.
Okay. So, it's only a few minutes before the curtains open, which is that 30-minute time span that you can find a seat and get late tickets if there are tickets, or I'm sorry, if there are seats available from those tickets. Since you were here and they are still having some tickets available, you'll be able to purchase one, but it will cost you 200 gold pieces.
Fucking God! No
And-
wonder nobody comes see these dumb shows.
You realize that might be the reason why it's so strange that such a straggly-looking man would come to every show. It's quite hard to afford, even for the richer people.
Alright, I buy a fucking ticket, I guess.
Okay. The moment that you step inside of the theater, there is a faint glow of your soul gem. It just makes a and then it fades
It's
out.
faint, though, right? Okay.
It's pretty faint. And you're in the lobby for a few moments. You could buy concessions if you'd like.
No, I'd rather fucking starve because it cost me $200 to see the show.
Good thing you don't have to eat. Oh my god. Okay. And you step inside of the theater. And when you do, the glowing gets brighter, brighter, brighter. But it's still not at that peak fullness yet, even as you arrive at your seat. And the curtain's closed.
And I'm sitting far enough back where I can see this guy, right?
You can see him. He's actually right up in the very front of the row. And the curtain raises up. And there's one sole narrator as a spotlight created by some sort of flame and a sheet. You're not quite sure how these ancient theater techniques work as far as lighting goes, but there is that man, and he's got a large top hat on, and he introduces the show. It's a rendition of the story of Hades and Persephone.
Will just goes, ugh.
In opera.
More quietly, he just goes,
All right. So, let's cut to Evangeline. Evangeline, after the events of last night, you'll find yourself on the cold, hard floor of the Wondrous Tower. This is the meeting place of all magical wonders of the city, although only the immediate party have, well, chosen to take up residence. There are certainly other magical wonders across the city, but you guys are the only ones who have heeded the call of the contractor to work together. And maybe it's because they want to use your image to recruit more magical wonders, but regardless, it's still a home for you. A meeting place. Except no one's meeting anyone right now. And now that the transformation has faded, they're alone. And inside of this cold tower, these spectral chains have you manacled both by wrist and by ankle. 2 different sets. And you've been struggling and struggling and struggling for the past, well, maybe 16 hours, and nothing, no budging whatsoever. You've tried rolling over to the side of the tower, getting in some dim lighting, using your ability, but as you kind of roll on your side to test the theory out, a small little elephant, the blubbering trunk, appears at the end of the door, and he says, "Oh, I wouldn't waste the entropy on that if I were you. It wouldn't work quite well."
And I'm assuming you're saying such a thing because you're enjoying the show?
"Oh,
Contractor?
no, I haven't been watching for very long."
Is that so?
Very long.
Well, I know it might be useless to ask, but do you care to help?
Help? What do you want me to do? I'm just a passive observer.
Ah. As I thought.
But hey, I gave you some advice, right? That's better than my usual.
Oh, I see. You're feeling rather giving today, are you not?
Well, you're one of my favorites. And he kind of uses that long trunk of his to sniff out what he's looking for, an egg-shaped gem. And he kind of uses one of his paws to push it out of your pocket from the outline of it. And it rolls on the floor right in front of him. And he uses his soft, fluffy little squishy pad to press down on it. And it's very gentle. But that's your real body, your real soul. So even that light press squeezes your rib cage and your abdomen. It's a searing pain.
What are you doing?
Oh, just measuring. I can't even begin to imagine what kind of a witch you'll make.
Get off it! And I want her to try and use, since they're shackled together, both of her feet to kick him away from her gem.
Okay. You can make an attack roll. Use an unarmed strike.
Yes, I will.
All right.
21.
So even with disadvantage, making it a 17, you manage. You flex your knees back, pulling them to your chest, and you launch them. And it just sends this little fucker flying, and he goes, ah! And he flies all the way over here, bonking off the side of the bench. But it seems like he's a little sturdier than the rabbit.
I would like to immediately grab my stone and keep it within my hands, cupping it.
All right. And you managed to do so. That was fun.
You're a real wart, aren't you?
A wart? This body was modeled after an elephant.
Yes, but it doesn't seem to change the personality too much.
Well, you could say the same about your magical transformations.
Is there a reason why you're here? Are you just going to continue messing around?
I saw what happened last night. It was an interesting show. Yes.
What do you think will become of her?
I think she probably should have stayed in her own city. Who knows why she left?
I think you're quite right. And I want to kick him again.
Give me this. Okay.
Disadvantage, I get a 9.
Okay, unfortunately with disadvantage, you yee, and he just and jumps off. You were just about 3 numbers away from hitting that AC of 13. Of 12. And he looks at you and narrows his eyes. Now. You know, I think you and me could make great partners.
I'm already contractually obligated to be your partner, contractor.
Well, yes, but there's something more. You really like your grief seeds, don't you? And I want you to become the biggest witch, which means you should probably last a little longer. I think just a little more despair will turn you into the biggest grief seed I've ever seen.
Aren't you kind?
It is a compliment. After all, a grief seed is a measurement of your karmic destiny. It means you're important.
Oh. So now I'm important.
I do wonder what makes you so important, though. After all, your wish was so minuscule and, well,
the large scheme of things. After all, you didn't even manage to fulfill your wish. Well, the wish you made, but not the wish in your heart.
When he gets close enough, I want to try to kick him again.
Give me an attack roll. Alright, meets it, beats it. Go for it.
Yeah, the second, because he's pacing across the room, the second he walks close enough after saying what he said, she's going to extend her legs and specifically aim for his stubby little feet to trip him up.
And he just and he collides into the bench again. This time he's got a large, deep wound in the elephant skull of his. This tiny, tiny little elephant.
Yeah. As small as you are, your mouth is far too big, contractor.
Well, this form has 2 mouths.
And he points at the trunk.
That's a nose.
Okay, and while this is happening, you can hear the large doors open yet again as another person enters the Winters Tower. And it's someone you recognize, but not for the better. It's this woman, and you might recall seeing her after your encounter with the bag familiar. And she's kind of watching all of these slanted mirrors that are perched on the walls, walking through. Her heels are making loud steps as she climbs up the staircase towards you. And when she gets into this large room full of benches, you behind one of them, the contractor on one of the benches, she kind of makes a small to herself. And she slowly walks over. Goodness, you look like you're in a pickle.
I guess Christmas came early. Care to help?
Help? Now, why would I do that?
I'm not sure you look like the type to be interested in pickles.
This tower is home to a little group of fuckwits who stole my golden goose.
Oh my. I do hate fuckwits. And she jingles her shackles.
Did they do this to you?
I care not to admit my weakness, but yes, I suppose they got the upper hand on me.
I suppose 5 against 1 really isn't such a fair fight.
It never really is.
This isn't your first team, is it? What was your first? What were they called?
Aren't you insightful? I'm part of no team. Never was and never will be. Now, come help.
She kind of glares at you, inspecting you for lies. And afterwards, she'll give it a thought, and she says, "You know, my father used to take me fishing. And he told me that if you don't have bait, you need to use a lure. If you're not going to be my bait, then do you have a lure to compensate?"
Quite honestly, as charming as your metaphors are, I really just want these shackles off.
You misunderstand. You are more valuable to me with them on. You probably put up less of a fight, too.
I can assure you, I am no lore, never have been and never will be.
No lore. I know your type. You can't play with me.
I'm the type now.
Yes.
Do go on.
Every magical wonder has their element. And some of them are dark. You're a dark magical wonder. I can see it in your face.
Alright, I'll give you that one.
So, Miss Mysterious Girl, who doesn't want to share her past with fuckwit friends, I have an offer to make. You seemed less than pleased when they took my hunt, which means you know how things work around here. I'm putting together a different kind of team. One that little fucking rat. And she turns to the elephant. Or elephant. Hasn't sanctioned.
I'm listening.
This little elephant kind of glares at her and actually scurries away when she arrives. And she's going to say, have you heard of the crystal eyes?
Have I?
Give me a history check.
Oh, it's just a straight 16.
16. Okay. A 17 with your soul gem bonus. It applies. It applies in and out of transformation.
Okay, then yeah, 17.
Awesome. Cool. You know that the crystal eyes are a reference to a small group of magical girls from long ago, kind of like a little myth. And apparently they were so powerful that when they became corrupted, they allegedly created the first Walpurgisnacht.
Alright, so with that, Evangeline will slowly nod her head, as in, yes, I do know what the crystal eyes are.
There are too many magical wonders in this city. That little rat is fleeing street to street, signing whatever contracts he can for whatever his little purposes are. But in all of magical wonder history, there have always been good guys and bad guys. Your little group of friends are about to be bad guys.
You know, I really do not appreciate you referring to them as friends. Forced allies, parasitic comrades, you know, friends? No.
Generally, a host does not survive with multiple parasites. It's generally a multitude of hosts that are suffering from one parasite.
Is there a point to this speech?
I think your friends would make an excellent Walpurgisnacht. And since we only need 5, well, I'd like you to help us.
Who's us?
And as you say this, 4 different sets of eyes appear in the dark. Alright. We're going to skip along here. Anthony, it has been a while where you are. It is currently a surrounding of the woman with the sickly hands who was caressing you from before, as well as a few different gentlemen, all either picking up these small little weapons or test firing them. The second crate was unlocked, and it opened up to reveal a crate of rifles. So this collection of pistols and rifles is currently being played around with, things of that nature. And this woman turns towards you and she says, "Well, Anthony, do I have a decision? I'm sure you wouldn't like it if these young men had to bloody their fists anymore." And she uses a tissue to kind of wipe away a large cut on the side of your cheek.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want that.
So we have a deal then?
Yes.
Good. This little boy is insignificant, really. I mean, honestly, it's not as if the whole... And she's stretching while she's saying this. It's not as if the whole city is going to collapse just because everyone's favorite heir is out of the picture. Once he's gone, all of those little stalks of his will flutter off across the economy, and we will be there to pick up all the pieces. You're young. You're relatively the same age. And with the proper funding, you could both go to the same school. That should be an easy in, shouldn't it?
I'm not going to school, okay?
Oh, you're going to school. Oh, but don't worry, I'll pay you for it, of course. The same rate that you would get when you were being a little messenger boy. But think of it like a summer vacation, reversed. You'll go there, I'll give you money, and when the time is right, you will strike at my command. And you'll have the perfect weapon to do it with.
Alright, I'll do it.
Wonderful. Do you prefer the pistol or the rifle? I know that these boys have been misfiring in your direction recently with all of these new little pieces of equipment. Surely you must have seen one of them aim in a way that was more preferential to you.
I prefer the pistol.
Okay, darling. Take your pistol. If you like, we could engrave it for you. Messenger boy number 399. Perfectly unique.
No, I don't want it to be engraved. That'll just be evidence.
Now you're thinking. There you go. I was never the plotting type. I don't think. I got here because I was more fucking crazy than anybody else. So, a word of advice, Anthony. When you go to this school, don't try to fit in. You might want to play covert, but everyone suspects the quiet one. Is that all? Are you going to need anything? I'm sure one billet will do.
Well, I also need my payment for tonight's deliveries.
Your payment, of course. I will tell the boys waiting out front of your house to back off. That should suffice for now. You get your first payment next week. I'm sure your little brother could handle himself without one paycheck.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. And if you ever have any problems, you know you can come to me for everything. They don't call me Mistral for nothing.
I'll be back tomorrow, Mistral.
Tomorrow, then.
Yeah.
Oh, and I will be getting you your uniform. Don't worry, I will give you all the necessary additions you need to stand out perfectly. Oh, and do me a favor, do try not to let anyone know that you have this. If I find out that you've been sharing this top secret information, oh, well, I might not have a messenger boy number 399.
I understand, Mistral. Anthony says this as he puts the pistol inside of his coat and hides it there.
Okay. Well, off you go. Goodness, I need a massage. Oh, and boy,
Yes, Mistral.
if there are any buyers while you are out of product, you always know where to refer them to, right? Of course, you'll be
Yes.
paid extra.
Of course.
Wonderful. That little school's gonna turn out so much cash. Have a good night then, Anthony.
Good night, Mistral.
Okay. It's quite dark now. And when you walk up the stairs and then back down the stairs through that back entrance, there's a small little shape waiting for you. And it says,
Anthony!
Huh?
Hey! How's my best friend doing?
Oh, hi, contractor. I'm doing okay.
Hey, we're all gonna meet up at the tower.
I'll be sure to get there.
Yeah.
Anthony runs to the tower, I guess, at top speed.
okay. And then moving along to Lucas. Lucas, school is over, and that leaves tryouts for the kendo team.
I slowly trudge to the place where tryouts are being held.
All right. It's this large gym, and it's got chalk kind of lining it. Kind of like how there are lines on a basketball field, or a basketball court, except it's these chalk drawings that have circles and lines, all signifying measurements of distance or zones. There are a bunch of different martial arts and sports that go on here, and they're all revered in the same regard. The arts, martial arts, and sports all have kind of an equal footing here, and there are 4 different administrations for each of those respective departments. And in the very front, there is a large circle, and it has a soft mat that is layered on top of it that goes around this grid. And this is the space where kendo trials will happen. And your father was, with his familiar hazel gaze, is sitting on the bleachers while boys and girls of many different sizes and shapes, classes, origins, as far as class goes, are lined up, and they are all here to compete. And you're waiting in line for quite a while. You have arrived on time this time, with your family kimono, your ornate sword, a hand-me-down, or at least the scabbard of it, because real weapons at tryouts aren't allowed. It's this wooden thing. It's a lot lighter than your sword, so you figure you'll probably be able to swing it a lot faster, but it definitely won't do as much damage, because it's not a fucking magic sword. And
Yeah.
the line gets thinner, and while there are a bunch of applicants behind you, there are only about 2 left in front of you. At this point, I'm just going to run you over what's going to happen here. For these tryouts, I'm going to pit you against 2 different targets. And to beat those targets, you can either choose to try to dodge, try to block, or try to attack.
Okay.
And they will have the same options. And kind of like rock, paper, scissors, depending on what you do, you can either win that roll or lose that roll. It's not a roll, it's more like a choice, I guess. Let's call it a gamble. Each opponent will have 3 gambles, so you have to pick correctly. Now, one of the caveats is that one of your wins has to be a win that's done with attacking, because you can't dodge all day and you can't block all day. To win a match, you have to win at least 2 out of 3. You have to win at least 3 out of the 5 little things. So you need those 3 successes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. So, the first opponent for your tryouts is this small little lanky kid. And he's got a sword that's a bit longer than his arm. So you figure that his swinging distance is probably going to be a bit shorter than yours. Because your sword comes about to your elbow. And just a little bit farther. But your arm is a bit longer than the sword itself. That distance is a lot farther than the distance of his arm / sword. And when you both get in positions, the referee, the one in charge of these tryouts, blows this small little wooden whistle, and it's time to go. So you have 3 options as you see this boy kind of shuffling with his feet, circling while you're circling the other way, one counterclockwise, one clockwise. I'm sorry, both of you clockwise. You can either try and anticipate his attack and block it. You can try to dodge out of the way of his attack, or you can try to attack him.
You said he's lanky, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his sword comes short.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll attack.
Okay. So he also chose to attack. So go ahead and give me an attack roll. Alright. So with the 16.
There's no plus.
Oh, okay. With the 13 then. You raise your sword. He raises his sword. You slash your sword at the same time as he slashes his sword. But yours is a lot longer. And it connects first. And you tap him right on the abdomen. Not to hurt him, but rather to score that point. And you hear the loud of the whistle. That's one success. You both reset to your positions. Now, Lucas, there's one thing that might have slipped your mind in the anxiety and in the intensity of the situation. Every time that you take the attack action, you gain an entropy point because you're not inside of your transformation. So please add 1 entropy point to your sheet.
Okay, I added.
Okay. Alright.
Oh.
So, after kind of rubbing the side of his abdomen, he groans for a second. And he raises his sword. But this time, it's raised at an angle. It's kind of slanted. What do you do?
I'm gonna take the block decision.
Okay. So, he's got his sword slanted. And all of a sudden, as you raise your sword to anticipate a strike to block, he jumps backwards. It looks like he was expecting you to attack. And fortunately for you, his right foot steps outside of the circle, scoring you another point. The whistle blows again. Alright. Now, as you guys reset positions, he raises his sword at you. And it is straight on. What do you do?
This time I'd like to dodge.
Okay. So he chose the attack action. So he's going to roll with disadvantage. Okay, with disadvantage, it's going to be an 8 to hit.
That's definitely a miss.
Alright, he rushes forward and slashes down with a hard horizontal slash, but you pretty easily dodge out of the way, and you lean your foot still where your previous position was, and he kind of just trips over it and falls flat on his ass. And the whistle finally blows that final blow. It's a long note. That is a victory. Alright.
I just put my boken facing down and just lean onto it. Oh, fuck. And just the purple entropy showing on my skin again. I just try and hide it with my sleeve.
Okay.
I go up to him, I just go to shake his hand in like admire and respect of the good fight we had.
Take back your fucking hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. You did great.
And he kind of sniffles. He's got some snot kind of dripping and tears welling in his eyes. And he's just kind of rubbing in his face with his oversized kimono. And he, not so graciously, gets up, kind of humiliated, and storms out. It seems like his parents weren't there to watch this fight either.
Maybe we can do some training. Oh, never mind. He's gone.
Alright. You got one more match.
Oh, no.
So this time, instead of fighting another applicant, you'll be fighting a member of the varsity team to determine if you'll be on the JV team or the varsity team. So there's this pretty medium-looking guy, like an ectomorph that's taking care of himself quite a bit, maybe like a swimmer's build. And this guy holds his sword in a way that's very particular. Instead of using two hands, he uses one hand to hold his sword, which is faced right in front of him, and he's got his other hand to the left of him, at his side. But it's not resting. It's active, like it's preparing to do something. Now, as the referee lines you both up, head to head, you see that his sword bends forward with the tip pointed at you. What do you do?
I like to try and dodge.
Okay. So the tip is pointed at you, and when he turns his sword upwards to be at a full horizontal with the ground, you kind of jerk backwards, expecting some sort of slash, whether it be vertical, horizontal, something. This large sword raises upwards, and your impression of hostile intent kind of gets the best of you. Your nerves are freaking you out, and you step backwards, unfortunately, outside of the square. Alright, that is one failure. The whistle blows, and you're reset. This time, you can see that he does the same thing. And he grins at you.
And you said in one of these I have to attack.
Yes, one of your successes has to be from an attack action.
What does he look like? What does he look like?
This guy, he's got kind of blondish hair. It's a little dirty. He's got blue eyes, and he's got a nose that looks kind of broken, to be honest. His ears have, if you've ever heard of cauliflower, it's kind of like, he's got wrestler's ears. So like they've touched the ground a lot, so they're looking kind of swollen, but that's their natural state now.
Okay, I'd like to block.
Block. Okay. This time he raises his sword and cuts to the left. Fortunately, your blade was blocking your left. Once it clings backwards, his sword just kind of waves back, and you take the opportunity to use your foot to kind of sweep, knocking over his stance, and he falls flat on his ass. The referee kind of shakes his head at this guy. He's on the varsity team, so it's kind of unexpected. He sits up, and you both are reset. This time, he's got his sword pointed at you, but he holds both hands on his blade.
Okay. This time I'd like to dodge again.
Okay. So, he raises his sword and juts forward. He's gonna make an attack roll at disadvantage. Okay. The roll is a 15.
That would not hit.
Not hit. Okay, cool. He rushes forward. This time, you're not really able to stick your foot out, but it doesn't matter because even though he doesn't fall, he does step out of bounds as he charges forward like a bull. And once he steps out, that whistle blows. That's 2 successes. All right.
This time, I look at him and I say, "Come on, both of us. One last attack. We could do this. Unless you're chicken or something."
You can see despite him not talking, you can see that small little strain of like a vein on the top right of his forehead. He's clearly irritated. He points his sword at you with his resting hand, seemingly active to do something, and it's just pointed straight at you, and he smirks.
Okay, this time I attack.
Okay. So go ahead and make me an attack roll at disadvantage.
Fucking coward.
Okay. Unfortunately, with that disadvantage, that does not meet the DC. And you rush forward, and same as him, you move forward thinking that this will be a final clash of some sort. But it's not. All right. So since you took the attack action, go ahead and add that entropy point. What are your entropy points looking at right now?
I'm at 8.
Okay. At 8. Okay. Okay. You are at 2 successes and 2 failures. This will determine whether you are on varsity or JV. This time, he raises his sword horizontally with both hands on it.
I take one sword. I lift my sword once, and I do the motion to come at me. Is to try one last time to taunt him.
Okay. So if you'd like, you can try a taunt instead of one of those actions.
Is it just intimidation, or
You can give me a deception, an intimidation, or a performance.
okay, intimidation?
Okay. Nice! You raise your
That's
finger
24.
forward. Nice. With the 24, you raise your finger forward, and this guy just comes charging forward like a bull. And when he does, he raises his sword down, and you just skirt right to the left as it digs into the floor. But when he digs into the floor, it kind of cuts into the mat a little bit. And then all of a sudden, he raises his sword, and you can see that there's a shining that you can see at the tip of his wooden blade. You look down at the mat. The mat has a cut in it. A deep cut. The referee immediately stops the match. The sword is inspected, and the referee kind of looks at the sword in horror and then turns to this varsity kid and shows him the door. It was a real blade.
Ah, good thing I didn't get hit by that.
Hey, Lucas! Are you busy?
I'm gonna try my hardest to ignore that sound.
Lucas!
And the referee starts to congratulate you. He pats you on the shoulder and he says, "Congratulations on making the varsity team." All at the same time, while he's giving his little speech, there's this small little creature in the back that for some reason seems like only you could hear. And it says,
Lucas! We gotta go! You should come to the tower! Lucas!
I whisper in my breath, like, unless you have a grief seed, leave me alone.
I have a grief seed.
Oh, excuse me, Rev. One moment. I have to go thank my family over there in the bath. And I go and run towards the bathroom.
Meanwhile, your dad just kind of looks at you in confusion.
I just told Dad, I'm gonna go meet Ivera. We have stuff to talk about.
Don't you want to celebrate?
Yeah, we're gonna celebrate over there, and then I'll celebrate with you in a minute. And I go and meet our contractor in the bathroom. Okay, where's the grief seed? I really need it.
Gosh, this place is dirty.
Well, it's the boys' bathroom. It's never really clean.
Oh, about the grief seed. It's actually at the tower.
Well, what do you want with me? I have, I've got things to do.
You got a friend, right? Evangeline? You like her, don't you?
Shush! No one's supposed to know about that.
Don't you want to go save her?
What's wrong with Evangeline?
Oh, she's gonna die.
She's gonna die?
Yeah, somebody's trying to kill her right now. Totally.
Oh, no. Ivera's not here. Who's trying to... How do you know this?
Well, because I saw it. She was getting brutally stabbed when I left.
You didn't do anything?
I'm just a passive observer.
Well, you want us to become strong magical wonders to defend the world, right? You couldn't tell me earlier before? Oh my god.
There's only so much a little elephant can do.
Where's everyone else?
Well, I sent for them with my other bodies. They should be coming soon.
More than one. Okay.
Whoa, Will's at a theater. This place is cool. Sorry, I was looking into one of my other forms again.
Wait, can I see the theater? No, that's beside the point. Okay, how long can you wait? I've got to go do something with my family, and then I can...
0 minutes and 0 seconds. Your soul gem's looking rather dark.
Yes, it's pretty dark. Okay.
I suppose you could stay. If you became a witch, you wouldn't have to worry about Evangeline.
No, I'm coming with you. It's okay, lead me out. Come on, let's go. And I walk out, and I walk past my dad, and I say, yeah, Ivera's tired in the bathroom. Yeah, she said she's gonna go home now. Thanks for the celebration. I gotta go, meet up with some other friends. Bye! And I just run out.
You have friends? You hear on the way
Many!
out.
Not really. They're not my friends yet, but, you gotta make them...
Invite them to dinner!
And I just run away.
Alright. Meanwhile, Will, you sat through this entire fucking performance, and it was pretty good if it wasn't so boring. Now, your soul gem had been glowing that same rate, and the man had just been idly watching the show. And then suddenly, when at the end of this opera, the light at the end of the tunnel that Orpheus is traveling to, when it appears on the stage, it starts to make your soul gem glow more rapidly.
I would like to kind of sink into between the seats and possibly roll a stealth check to, fucking hide.
Give me a stealth check.
Oh, thank God.
Alright, so hiding from this thing, the light is being casted from one of the pieces of equipment up in the rafters. And when you turn your head up to where the light is emitting from, there is a large symbol on this drum-looking thing that the light from a large brazier is shining through. This symbol is the entrance to a labyrinth, but it's on the end of one of these pieces of lighting equipment.
So you're telling me it's the base of a flashlight, basically, is
Yes.
the entrance, but it's like a stage light.
Yes.
Up high. Okay, I got you. Okay, I got what I needed. So I'm just gonna scoot the fuck up out of there and take the carriage ride back to Roman's library.
Okay. Roman, you haven't really noticed any strange customers. Nana has finally scoured through the entirety of your books.
Before I leave, though, is there any chance, because I've been studying this guy the whole play, can I do, a check to see if I can notice where his tattoo might be, if he's wearing it? Because you say he's dingy, so I don't know if he's wearing, long sleeve or, jackets or what, but...
For some reason, he does seem to be wearing a long sleeve jacket, but it's almost conveniently pulled to the left to completely reveal the tattoo. It's not obscured in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of odd, because it's uneven, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What is it? The tattoo?
It is the symbol of a question mark with a gear around it.
Okay. Does it seem like... Oh my god, what the fucking last thing I want is, for this also to not be the right one. Is there any way to tell, just from experience, if the tattoo is, like, supposed to move, the closer it is to its rightful, like, witch, or, like, if the guy is supposed to act funny or anything like that?
A witch's symbol is unique to the witch, 100%.
Right.
So
I'm just asking if it's, like, acting funny being this close to this barrier. Like, would I know if they do that?
No, but you would notice that the symbol of the labyrinth is the same to the tattoo.
Oh,
which is the same symbol of the question mark with the strange riveted gears around it.
Okay, got it. Okay. So yeah, I'll just slink out.
Okay. Roman, it's getting dark, and Will isn't arriving. The one who does arrive is a small, little elephant-like creature.
Roman!
Hi.
Don't worry, I'm not here for Nana yet.
That's good, because you're not getting her.
Mm-hmm. She needs her own identity before I can grant her a wish.
Sure.
Did you figure out a new name for her?
No. Still working on that, kind of.
Okay.
But we're getting there.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I got a question.
Okay.
You seem like a caring guy. Do you care about Evangeline?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, well, she's dying right now.
I
I don't mean like how you're all dying. I mean like she's actively being stabbed.
Like, right now?
It's really bloody. There's blood everywhere.
Where?
I think I see her fibula.
What?
At the Wondrous Tower. Thank goodness she's a magical girl. Otherwise...
Okay.
Oh! That's a lot of damage.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Aren't you gonna go save her?
Well, I don't know. If I leave and I go save Evangeline...
Oh, die!
And Mr. Dalton will die too. But you'll be here alone with Nana.
Uh-huh.
This is a puzzler.
Don't worry. I can't make her sign the contract while she's still lacking an identity.
I know.
What's she gonna sign the contract with? A fingerprint? That's actually a very good idea. I think I've outdone myself. Maybe I'll stop carrying pens around. Just do fingerprints.
That sounds dumb.
Well,
Contractor, you wouldn't lie to me, right?
not at all. I'm just a passive observer.
So you're definitely telling the truth about this, right?
I can't give you a direct lie. It's merely that sometimes you don't ask the right questions.
Well, so... You said that she was being actively stabbed, right?
Yes.
Is Contractor within 15 feet of me?
Yes.
Huh. So you're really telling the truth, huh?
Yes. She's actively being stabbed.
Well, I believe you. Mr. Dalton? Mr. Dalton?
I live!
I was so worried. Mr. Dalton, I'm gonna go out for a couple of hours.
No! I'll die!
You're not gonna die, because I have two people who are gonna take great care of you.
Oh, not the Warrens.
No, not them.
The Tanners.
Not the Tanners either.
Not the Munchkins.
No one on our block is named the Munchkins. That's an... What? Okay.
I read about it in a story.
Yeah, those were children's books. I pick up Nana. Pick up physically. It's very hard. I'm very scrawny. And I take her into the room that Mr. Dalton's in. And I sit her down on the ground. And I say, this is Mr. Dalton. He is my best friend in the whole world right now. And he needs help. But if you help him, he will give you more books to read. Or tell you how to get more books to read.
She kind of groans.
I know. It kinda sucks. But sometimes, in order to get the things we want, we have to do things that kinda suck. And I know there's a good chance you probably don't understand what I'm saying, but I think you're getting the general idea. I'm gonna be back an hour, maybe 2 hours tops. Okay? Okay. I trust you. You're the greatest, Mr. Dalton. You're not gonna die. And yeah. And with that, Roman is going to find a very private room and lock it.
What is this elephant doing here?
Oh man. Kind of rubbing his eyes, he pulls his goggles over his eyes and begins his magical transformation.
Hell yeah. Describe it.
Whispering to himself, he says, Magical Maverick, needy namer, not nervous nor nauseous. And a entire ream of paper shoots out of his bag, and taking a page out of Ivera's book, it begins to form into a cocoon around him that envelops him and pulses with these arcane runes that seal it all the way across before splitting and fracturing just like an egg with little bits and pieces falling off before he bursts out, shock of white hair drifting everywhere as if floating underwater, and the familiar leathery wings flapping off of his back. And he runs very quickly through the library so as to not be seen by Mr. Dalton or Nana, and takes off into the sky.
Wow. Looks like he's been reading up on Ivera, too. Alright.
Is there any chance I see Roman as I'm, like, traveling back to his library?
You would definitely see that. As it is soaring forward.
Can I get his attention? Because I know my cart's probably further down than he'd like it to be. I don't know.
Yeah. So there aren't many carriages, especially anywhere near Chalk End. And so, Roman, you would probably notice Will's carriage as it was heading towards the library.
Okay. In that case, I will pull a piece of paper out of my bag and whisper into it as it is rolled up. And I will say, I actually need to look the wording on this spell. Will, I'm going back to the tower because contractor said Evangeline might be in danger. Scratch that, Evangeline is definitely in danger. You should come too. And I roll it up and put it inside of an imaginary bottle and throw it down at the carriage where I believe Will is as I cast message.
Okay, well, the carriage stops. I tell Money to stop, and I grab the bottle. Is there any way that I can send a message back to you, or is this only like a one-way?
It's the message spell.
Okay, so then I write on the back of the piece of paper, I'm like, good, I hope she dies. Where's the kid? And then I send it back up to you.
Nana is safe in the back room with Mr. Dalton, but I would really appreciate it if you came and helped me so that Evangeline doesn't die. throw the bottle back down.
I grabbed the bottle and I'm like, you left an invalid child with your paraplegic grandfather in an open library with a bunch of strangers in it. Aren't you supposed to be the smart one? Send you back the bottle.
Listen, when you put it like that, it sounds a lot worse than it actually is. But I'm only doing it because I know they can survive.
Can we
and that
just...
Evangeline might not.
Can we have this scene, like, slowly they're closing the distance between each other, like Roman's, like, landing on a roof or something, and then they're just aggravatingly throwing this bottle harder and harder, like, towards each other. And then I'm like, she's incredibly unlikable, hasn't helped us in any fights, is literally the worst, and will give us a grief seed if she dies. Why are you going to save her? Why is it so important? And then fucking toss the bottle.
Because every single person is important. If you give up on even one person, you give up on everything.
So he gets the bottle, reads that message, and then, like, a fucking huge anime vein appears on the top of his head, and he's just so upset, he smashes the bottle against a wall, and all you hear is, "Mommy! We're leaving! Turn around!" He gets in the carriage. Fucking hate this guy.
Whee! Alright, soaring.
Okay. With... oh my god.
Actually... Fuck.
What's that?
I can't send him a message back, but can I throw a rock at him to get his attention again?
Hell yeah.
Alright, so I need a message spell, so just send me a bottle. He, like, motions out the window for you to send me a bottle.
You broke the fucking bottle.
Yeah, because I was so angry. I'm still upset. But I get the bottle, and I write, what if she stabbed herself? What did the contractor tell you exactly?
She's being stabbed repeatedly, and he can see her fibula.
Did he specifically say he can see her fibula, or did he say he thinks he can see her fibula?
Oh. Well...
The contractor is a manipulative bitch, and so is Evangeline. I think
I know he's not lying.
Okay, I know he's not lying, but it doesn't mean he's not manipulative, and she might just be stabbing herself to set a trap for us and kill us.
If she's stabbing herself, I still want to help her.
Will hates how good of a person Roman is. Damn it. He gets in the carriage and he continues to go towards the tower. I hate this. He hates this.
Okay. So with all of the magical wonders converging towards the tower, and one magical wonder missing in action for the day, what happens? I don't know. Find out next week on next week's episode of Magical Wonder. Another cliffhanger. Oh my god, I'm amazing.
Did you... Oh no.
You're welcome.
Wow, thanks. I hate it.